So, I narrated in a recent podcast about Simulated Ape and the timeframes I have to work on it. And while currently I'm spending a lot more time in the evenings just trying to get the decent level of rest that I need currently, which may change through the summer months, I think might ease a little bit through the summer months, one of the things I can do is run the simulation. One of the problems I've had since re-adopting Metal is that the Simulated Ape program is not as stable. It seems like some kind of memory constraint or that it's scrambling some of the underlying memory, and it's really a difficult issue to track down, except it randomly crashes at not a random line, but a line associated with drawing, which is indicative of some memory being overwritten. But I just don't have the bandwidth to check it out through Metal. I spent a good amount of time debugging Metal in order to get it implemented initially, and the memory leak and the memory characteristics through Metal are just above and beyond my current scope. And actually, it kind of colours, for want of a better term, my relationship with the simulation, that there's this outstanding crash that occurs in non-debug builds primarily, and it means that I can't run the simulation for extended periods of time if I use Metal. So I've returned to Core Graphics, and the upside of returning to Core Graphics is a kind of reset from March of last year, April last year, probably slightly closer, which eliminates two major blocks of work. The first associated with, three blocks of work actually. The first associated with getting a command line environment generic for the London 1940, which I can re-implement. There was a bug which I tracked down at the end of last year, I think, associated with running from the command line specifically, independently in Simulated Ape, that it wouldn't run from the command line and you say forever, run forever, and that runs the simulation until you tell it to stop. Well, there was a bug in that, which I fixed, but I think I can rewrite that with a new perspective to try and eliminate the issues. What I now have is two very distinct software branches, one that is the conclusion of April 2022, and one which is up to the present day, including Metal. And I think I'm going to go back to April 2022. Which is very interesting. It's kind of a Back to the Future kind of return to... I was telling you the three things that had been developed. The command line, the skeleton code specifically, and what was the third one? Perhaps just the reintroduction of Metal in general. I did a substantial rewrite, actually. Through the period of time where I thought I had COVID initially and I was hospitalized, I did a bunch of kind of churning programming once to get Metal back up, and kind of discarding that. I mean, I don't know if it made it any more stable, but it certainly didn't in terms of the adoption of Metal. And the leak is both in Simulated Ape and also UrbanSim. What I get for returning to the April 2022 version of UrbanSim, of course, command line, the format for London 1940, which kind of went nowhere, and I think they were the three things. Command line, format of London 1940, and the skeleton. They were the three things. So, I lose those three things. The skeleton is some of Bob Mottram's code. It's kind of esoteric and interesting. What I'm going to probably do... I also lose... When I'm returning to April 2022, I lose the Planet Noble Ape simulation. So what I'm going to do is maintain both branches with the view that sometime... the benefit, I want to say, is that I'm only developing for myself. I've come to that realization in the past year that basically I'm the only user of Simulated Ape, and as the primary user, I have ultimate vetting power over the features that I introduce and don't introduce, which is interesting to say explicitly, but it just identifies what the situation is. I'm also going through a kind of mental unpacking associated with the COVID period. I think a lot of where I am currently is based on COVID, and I've gone back and listened to a variety of long funks in the past, and the COVID period obviously impacted me with a great degree of stress. So April 2022 is not the end of COVID or even the beginning. It's kind of a second step into COVID, if I can narrate that. The first step was when we were in San Jose. Well, literally we become kind of extreme isolationists in terms of not actually moving outside our house. And then we moved to Las Vegas, which is the early period. I think it was February 2020, perhaps? February 2020 that we moved to Las Vegas. And from then on, obviously having my daughters in a kind of May time frame, all these things built up. But I did get a lot of work in Simulated Ape, which I think was just spinning tires ultimately. That's the way I'm thinking of it now. So going back to the future, taking almost a year, 8 months, 10 months, something like that, back to a point where the simulation was stable and it was a lot easier to use. Now, like I said, I have the ability to actually work out what happens in the near future with regards to this development. I don't have to follow any particular script. I'm just writing this thing for my own, good sense of enjoyment. And I need to be very cognizant of that Simulated Ape has one user and one user that's incredibly vocal, at least in these podcast recordings. So that's where I'm at with regards to Simulated Ape, taking a step backwards and taking a step backwards, both figuratively and literally. Tom Barbaland, Las Vegas, Nevada, signing out.